You guys have no idea how confusing it is having the same name as my dad, last name, and being in the same industry. Get so many calls. And I look like incorrect. So a little bit about myself. We don't have much time and we have a lot to go through. So I graduated from the University of Waterloo. I studied urban planning, and I am now a development manager in Toronto. So I project manage large developments downtown Toronto. I'm also a real estate agent, so I work with my dad here on the weekends, and I help him out providing services to our clients. And I'm also a real estate investor. So a question for everyone here: where do you think that I build all my wealth? Which job out of these three? Yep. Number three. Why is that?
Because I know your dad.
Because you know my dad. Okay. Well, a more detailed answer to that is because of the appreciation, the tenant pays your mortgage, and also there's cash flow. Now, I have an example later on that I'll go deeper into that so you understand better. So how it started. I became an investor in December 2016. I was 24 years old. I graduated from the university, and I started a joint venture partnership with my dad. When you graduate, you don't have that much capital, not even the 5% that you need. So having someone to go into it, it's a lot easier, and you can get into the market. 2 years later, we refinanced the property. We took some money out, and basically I bought my dad out of the property. So I became the sole owner, so I was the owner of 100% of it. Fast forward to August 2020, I will own 5 properties. One of those is going to be a duplex, and we're working on another duplex joint venture with my uncle, who's back there as well. He seems to be an okay partner for now, I will see. And I do not own a car. We all know what happens when you own a fancy car. My plan is to have as many houses as I can, and then let the houses basically pay for my fancy car sometime. We'll see. So how we're going to break up the presentation is I'm going to talk a little bit about what to look for in properties when you're looking into a potentially illegal duplex. Then Naun is going to talk about the construction and the building regulations. Then I'm going to go back into having a financial background of an example of the duplex that I own. And then I'm going to have some tips for the lease agreement. Having 2 tenants, there's a lot of relationships that you need to plan and basically guide them through when it comes to issues and just make sure that they're happy. So the first thing is zoning. So zoning basically is basically the power that the city has to make sure that the land is used correctly and as they want. So basically, it's, if you have a lot, it's either commercial, industrial, or residential. But there's also the R1, R2, R3s. We kind of focus on R4s and R5s when it comes to duplexes, just because they're more flexible. And you can find that information in the city website, or you can just give a call to the planning division of the city, or you can ask us. I went to university for this, so I kind of know a little bit. So 3 things that we look into finding properties, right? So number 1 is a side entrance. Now Naun's going to talk about a little bit more about how much that costs and the process for it, but there's a lot of houses with side entrances already, so might as well save money on that. The second thing is having a large driveway. To avoid headaches, it's better to have 2 cars side by side, so you don't have tenants fighting over who's going to get out and whatnot. And the third one is high basement ceilings. There's regulations on that, and now we'll talk a little deeper into those details. So I'll pass it on to Naun, and he will talk more about the regulations and the construction. Right, so this legal duplex, we bought it about a year ago. We purchased it for $435,000. The down payment was 20%, so $87,000. The legal cost, approximately $10,000. The renovation was $100,000, right? So we put $197,000 into the property. Now that's a lot of money, but we already know that there's different ways to get that. But the thing is, the $435,000 is no longer $435. It's now $600. And then you got to leave the 20% into the mortgage so you can refinance, right? So you take out $132,000. So pretty much you got a $600,000 home for $65,000. That's pretty great, right? But hold up, you still have tenants. So you have rental income. So for this property, it's $1,750 each tenant. So the income is $3,500. Mortgage and taxes, $2,355. Insurance, $135. And other expenses on average, $200. So you have a cash flow of $810, which just go right into your pocket. Now that's pretty great, right? but the tenants are paying the mortgage. So 750 out of those 2,355 are getting deposited to your capital, so you're paying down your debt, right? So when you talk about a year, you're making $18,720 on that property, just from that. But also there's something called appreciation. And being conservative, and I know Humberto is going to talk about the market, 3% appreciation year over year is pretty conservative here in the Kitchener-Waterloo region. So you're making $18,000 on top of that. So per year, you're basically making $36,720 in a legal duplex. Now that's pretty great, right? Now you're having 2 tenants, right? So something that I always get asked is like, okay, like how do you manage 2 tenants? So that's what I'm going to talk about. So here are some clauses that we put into the lease, just so you kind of have some control and you basically let the tenants know what's going to happen and how things are going to go. So the first one is, tenant acknowledges that the temperature of the duplex will be maintained between 20 to 24 degrees Celsius and will be controlled by the landlord. So for this house, what we did is we put a Nest thermostat, we locked it in the main room, and I do it from my phone. I basically put the temperature. We also have a sensor in the lower unit, so we know what the temperature is, because obviously in the winter, the lower one's colder, so you gotta maintain the temperature. And in the summer, the upper one is gonna be hotter, so you gotta take that into consideration as well. So I'm the one that controls it from my phone. The second one is, it's a long one. Tenant understands that the utility room is located in the unit, which may require the landlord to access the unit as needed with at least 24 hours notice. Tenant further acknowledges that there is a risk of unforeseen events such as flooding, in which the landlord will make it a priority and fix any problems in a timely manner. Landlord is not liable for any damages to the personal property of the tenant in such events. So this basically says, there might be a flood. It doesn't happen often, but you never know, right? The weather, the system, the sewerage, you really don't know. So it's better to just like let them know in case it happens. And also, the section that says landlord is not liable for any damages, we ask the tenant to have tenant insurance. So for the furniture, and if anything gets damaged, it should cover that, and it's not up to us to replace anything. And the last one is, tenant acknowledges and accepts that noise from the upper unit may be heard from time to time due to the nature of the legal duplex. If the nuisance is severe or continuous, the tenant may contact the landlord for mediation. So obviously, if you're in the lower unit, you're gonna hear some noise, right? Even if you have the noise cancellation and all that, the noise usually travels through the vents, right? So it's, you would have to have 2 furnaces and all that, and it doesn't make sense. So it's good to put this clause just in case people come back to you and say, hey, like I'm listening to some steps, right? Mind you, if the tenant upstairs is a tap dancer or has parties every day, then that's where when we put there, like, if that's an issue, then you talk to us, to the landlord, and we'll deal with it, and we'll talk to them and figure something out. Something else that we add to the lease, I don't know if you can see, is this image. So basically, it shows the responsibilities, and it shows what's basically dedicated to each unit, right? So here, what we did at the top, we had a shed. And what we did is we broke it in half. We put a partition wall in the middle, and we added 2 doors. So we basically said to the tenants, like, half is for you and half is for you for storage. And one of the tenants, obviously, where are you going to put your tires, your winter tires in the summer and your summer tires in the winter? So they put it there. And we also put a fence in the middle, so they have that privacy of having basically 2 backyards. Also in the winter, an issue that may come up is, okay, like, which side am I parking the car? Who's going to shovel the snow? So we made it really clear here with the colors, who's responsible for what, right? And again, we put here in the clauses that, if they have an arrangement, if one tenant doesn't have a car, obviously the other one needs to shovel the whole driveway, those kind of things. If there's any arrangements, then they let us know, just so we are aware and we know. Now here's a picture of what I was talking about, how we broke it up, the backyard in 2. So this is the shed. We added a door here. Actually, we added here the door. That one was existing. And we added the fence in the middle. And this is how it ended up being. So it gives some privacy, and it gives, you can just do whatever you want in that section of the backyard. And I want to end up with this quote. The critical factor is the amount of time on the market, not timing the market. A lot of people are waiting for prices to go down. A lot of people are waiting for different things, but you just need to get into it because the market's not going to wait for you, right? Like, it's not going to stop and say, like, hey, like, do you want to buy now? Like, you should. It's not going to happen, right? We're here to show you that the numbers work. We're here to show you that the investment works. And, you just being here, that's the first step. You're here. You're interested. If you're an investor, you already know what the numbers are. If you're not, then obviously all this information is here to help. And if you have any other questions, we're all here. You have mortgage, you have everyone here, and we're here to work for you.